When we think about the vastness of our market, it's the entire built world. Within 5 years, I want to be used on a 7-Eleven in Shibuya in Tokyo, a hospital project in Riyadh, and a data center in Arizona. So for us, before developing like rocket science solutions to do people actually want to pay for this? Excited to have a very interesting conversation about all things Contech and venture.
Hi, I'm Tom Guinness and welcome to the Raising Europe podcast. Here we go behind the scenes with the people building the future of European tech. Today we're joined by Peter Starr, the CEO and co-founder of Freeda. Freeda is a leading AI-powered construction tech business based in Paris. So for anyone looking to stay ahead in construction tech, you don't want to miss this. Before we begin, I have a quick favor to ask you. Raising Europe is a community-supported channel. If you find that our content has been valuable to you or has helped you in any way, please hit the subscribe button. It's one quick, free, easy way for you to support the channel. Thank you so much for joining us on our journey so far. Without you, none of this would be possible. Now, with that out of the way, let's dive into today's episode. So Peter, great to have you here today. How are you doing?
Great to be here. Excited to have a very interesting conversation about all things Contech and venture.
Amazing. So first of all, why don't we start off with you? So why don't you tell us a little bit about you, your entrepreneurial journey, and how you started Freeda?
Yeah, so I'm an architect, urban planner by training, originally from the United States, from New York City. But I was blessed enough to spend most of my young life in Europe, so in France in particular. So I've got this very funky dual cultural thing going on where I sound very American in English, and I look and sound very French when I speak French, obviously. So I studied urban planning in the UK at UCL, worked in the Middle East for a bit, then went back to London, worked for a large civil engineering company called AECOM, where I really got a feel for the problem that we're solving at Freeda. So circle back on that after. I got fed up with the world of construction, went to business school, went to HEC in Paris, discovered software and tech because it was like something I didn't know anything about when I was a designer. Worked in the tech industry in New York, and then around a year and a half ago, left to create Freeda.
That's amazing. And also as a fellow HEC alum, shout out to our HEC family.
Shout out to HEC family, exactly.
What an amazing place to have studied afterwards.
Yeah.
So tell me, what was the aha moment you had when you started Freeda?
So a few things. So Freeda is based on my personal experience in the construction and design space. So when I was at AECOM, I was working for oil and gas customers, so Shell, NEX, and Mobil, companies like that. And I spent a phenomenal of time reconciling architecture plans with what we call brand guidelines.
Right.
So they're huge PDFs that are a series of rules that you need to check against the architecture plans. And I did this work manually. And I could spend like 50, 100, 200, 500 hours doing this work and still make errors. And I didn't know tech existed, right? And I said to myself, like, there has to be a better way of doing this. And so the aha moment started with my personal experience and Mariano Rodriguez's experience in computer vision and tech. Mariano is one of the 4 co-founders of Freeda. He's a PhD in applied maths from the UNS, specializing in computer vision. And when we kind of bridged my problem with the tech that he can build, kind of came together to create what is now Freeda.
That's amazing. Yeah. So tell me, how big do you think the opportunity is going to be? Like how big is the market for what you're doing?
So we think about the market in a few different ways. We have a fairly, not necessarily unique, but novel approach to pricing that we can talk about after, where we position ourselves as a solution, as a service that sells outcomes as opposed to selling a standalone software product. So with that in mind, if you want to take the biggest possible market, you take all of the construction or renovation projects around the world and you apply a percentage of the construction costs. So even small construction projects in France will cost like 1 to 2 million minimum. So you're already making like, a few grand to tens of grands on those projects, all the way to like bridge and infrastructure projects that cost billions where you can make a lot more. So when we think about the vastness of our market, it's the entire built world, which is pretty big.
The entire built world.
The entire built world. And so my objective with Freeda is within 5 years, I want to be used on a 7-Eleven in Shibuya in Tokyo.
Yeah.
So to really give you a taste for how niche we can go, a hospital project in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, and a data center in Arizona. We have a global vision of what we want to build and to work across all types of asset classes. So that's one way to look at the market. Yeah. The other way is a much more conventional approach where you take the testing, inspecting, and certification market in construction, and that's around 220 billion across the world today.
Wow, huge market.
It's huge, but it's so unglamorous and niche, though clearly not being very niche because the market is so huge. But it's a space we're really enjoying operating in.
Yeah, as someone who worked in real estate, private equity for some time, it's amazing how much of a global market it is.
Totally.
So it's very niche, like local markets, but then you have a huge global market as well.
I think the word Glocal is really important because it comes with obviously opportunities with this huge market and a lot of challenges because everything is so fragmented at a local scale. So those are like growing pains that we're going to have to deal with, and we have kind of ideas of how we can solve it. But Glocal is definitely the right term.
So tell me, what exactly, like what type of problems is Freeda solving?
I think there's two ways to approach it. The first is from a very operational perspective. Is today design or project management teams at large owners and developers spend a phenomenal amount of time doing manual work. So this is the work that I was doing before. You take a bunch of plans, you check it against a bunch of stuff. It's very tedious, and there are always errors. That's operational. So we're saving time, and we're decreasing the amount of errors in document sets. The other one, which is a lot more interesting, is on risk mitigation. Yeah. So most errors in construction projects come from errors before construction actually starts, right? So in like white collar work, on plans and documents. And one small error, like a door not being the right size, creates huge costs and delays on the construction site. So that's how we like to frame ourselves, is as a risk reduction solution that helps projects get delivered on time and on budget, as opposed to just a productivity solution, saving an hour here, an hour there. That framing is really important for us.
So the framing is a risk reduction solution.
Correct.
That's amazing. And also it's clearly needed across, if you imagine large construction projects, small ones, it's needed from small to big globally.
Right. Totally.
Could you explain to us in plain English, what you guys do at Freeda?
Yeah. So we have a technical mission and a business mission. The technical mission is to develop machines that can understand, reason, interpret architecture plans like human experts. Yeah. So to be able to do that, you need to use a bunch of different tools. One of them is computer vision. So it's developing solutions that can automatically interpret diagrams and pixels. And we also use a bit of generative AI, like the reasoning layer on top of that. Once you have accomplished this technical challenge, there are business use cases that we sell. There are two. The first is what we call regulatory compliance checks. So when you're building a Starbucks, that Starbucks needs to follow a set of rules that are determined by local governments, public bodies, things like that. And so we check the plans against those rules and flag errors. Then we also do what's called internal project documents. So Starbucks, for example, have an internal checklist that say a Starbucks must have this many coffee machines, this many seats, this much surface area for the customers to come into. We check against that as well. And we deliver reports within a set amount of time, which ranges from a few hours to a few days to a few weeks sometimes.
That's amazing. So it delivers reports which your end customer then can use to say, everything's great, we can go ahead with construction.
Or more often than not, everything's not okay, and we need to redirect time and resources to these specific issues to resolve them.
That makes a lot of sense. So, when you were building the business, how did you build your MVP, and how does your product compare today?
Yeah. So our MVP initially was me with a PDF reviewing platform, which was, I think, Preview, to be honest. We, and me in particular, really believe in validating demand before building anything. And I think the barrier to sales is actually a lot lower than we think it is. So for us, before developing like rocket science solutions, to like, do people actually want to pay for this? And so we received architecture plans from our customers, and I manually annotated everything by hand and created flat reports that weren't interactive at all. They were literally just PDF reports with big red boxes on it. And that already was incredibly useful. And of course, I was using some AI to do it more quickly, but validating that was great. And once we could sell that, we started building the technology. And today, around 70% of all of the work of reviewing plans is done autonomously by machines. The remaining 30%, around 30%, is with human validation and supervision.
Do you think having a human in the loop is something that's required, or do you think eventually there won't be a human in the loop?
No, I think in our particular, human in the loop is like a very trendy term at the moment. I think eventually we will get, I think in other industries we'll get to automation. For us, human in the loop is very important for a few reasons. One, each project is unique. So you always require a degree of interpretation of what the customer wants, how they build their projects, how they think about things. That will always be the job of human experts. So that's one. And two, the complexities of regulations and the nuances that come with certain checks doesn't make sense to train machines to get to that point today.
Right.
It's faster to automate 70% of it and keep 30% with the humans, because after that point it becomes marginal gains, and you'll invest so much time and effort and money into improving the process by 3%, and that's not worth it. So we fundamentally are human in the loop integrated in our internal solutions.
How does your solution differ to your competitors in the market today? What makes Freeda unique?
So we've taken some interesting approaches on, one, the business model, and two, the mathematical strategy behind how we want to automate a lot of this work. So on point one, we position our solution in a way that matches how our customers think about buying solutions and their internal processes. So for the customer, we're almost like a service provider that they know very well because they already hire architects and engineers. Yeah. We price in a way that makes sense locally. So in France, it's pricing on the amount of euros per square meter of a project and on the number of checks that we do. So we make it very easy for them to buy us and to understand us, which I think is really critical. We don't sell a license for 100 euros a month per person or whatever. And that's a very conscious choice that not many other technology startups are doing. There are other actors that do it, but not technology startups. And then mathematically, we've chosen to really develop a tool that can think independently from start to finish on tasks. So what I mean is we train computer vision models to detect doors, and then we take those doors and we share that with another agent that can reason around doors and say, okay, I'm looking at a door right now that's 83 centimeters wide. What is the rule I need to check it against? The rule needs to be 90 centimeters wide, and can really think almost like the level we set it as today is like a junior intern that's 14 years old, right? Right. That's where it's at today. And the Mariano's mathematical strategy, I say maths, psychology strategy, is very different from all the others.
Right. So differentiating on the mathematical strategy that underpins your reports.
Yeah. So I think to cap it up, it's two things. One, a new business model that we're bringing into this to the space, and two, the technological foundations are very different to what is being done elsewhere.
So who's your ICP today, your ideal customer profile?
Yeah.
Who's buying this?
Sure. So we have two ICPs that we target today. The first are what we call owners and developers, and they're the ones who have the financial incentive to deliver projects really quickly. So think of it as Starbucks or Vinci or Eiffage in France. Yeah. And to them we sell the report, the outcome, right? Then we also sell to what we call the world of like inspections and certifications. So large quality controllers, inspectors, certifiers. There we sell the report, but it's a slightly different manner. And to both of these, we sell around the world across any type of asset from residential to industrial to commercial. We'll sell to anyone that has built projects.
How much impact does using Freeda have on your customer's business? Is there a certain amount of time saved, ROI that you guys measure to track that you're making a real impact on their operations?
So I say like the surface level metric that we could look at is time saved, which is interesting. It's also a little boring. Like, yeah, before they used to spend 10 hours a week or 20 hours a month or whatever checking plans manually, and we remove that. That's like tier one insight. I'd say tier two, going into more detail, is doing work that they couldn't do before because it was so expensive and tedious to do with a human. So de-risking and detecting very niche kinds of errors in their internal documents. So it's almost like we're creating a new role internally for them. And then the last level of insight, which I think is the most interesting, is how are we helping you open your McDonald's or your Starbucks faster? So I say that's on like number of errors detected, which would translate to X delays or X budget overruns. And that's the one that, since we haven't existed for long enough, we're trying to look into more and more. But those are like the three tiers of metrics that we're tracking.
So how many customers do you have today? And how have you seen that number kind of grow over time?
So I think we're going to be a step function company as opposed to like a smooth progression over time. And because of the size of the contracts that we're signing, so the smallest one being $114,000 off a lot of projects, it's kind of like enterprise grade cycles. So today we have around 10 customers distributed across the world, though mostly in Western Europe, across those two ICPs, so owners and developers and controllers. And because they're large deals with a lot of projects, I think the more interesting metric for us to look at is number of projects rather than number of clients. And so this year, in 2026, we're going to be deployed across over 4,100 projects so far.
Wow.
And representing so far over $20 billion in project value, which is a pretty mental metric.
And in a competitive landscape, how do you win these customers or projects?
And great question. How are we winning these deals? Two things. One, I think, goes back to the initial point that I was making about the buying process. So we make it very easy for Freeda to be purchased. And so there's very little work and adoption that the client needs to do on their side. I think that reflects kind of how we understand the nuance of what each customer wants. So there's a little bit of fine tuning that needs to be done on these checks, but it's almost like part of the service. And because the contracts are so big, like you kind of need that. You need to almost have like consulting grade guidance and service for that. So I say that's one, and that's two. The second point that our enterprise customers love is that we deliver semi-perfect results within a predefined service level agreement. So work that would take them like 2 weeks to do internally, that's probably still full of errors, we'll deliver within an average of 48 to 72 hours for these reports. And so that balance of like customer love, understanding with near perfect results in a very fast time frame kind of makes us an addictive solution to buy.
You have great offices here in Paris.
Thank you.
Is your whole team based here?
Yeah, so we made a very conscious choice to base the technical team in Paris. Paris has a phenomenal amount of engineering talent, great mathematicians, and through Mariano and our existing team, we have great access to them. So that will always stay in Paris. But more and more, as we're starting to work in new geographies, especially the Middle East, the US, we're going to have like commercial offices there. But the tech team will always stay in Paris.
Great. And so how many employees do you have today? And the split of employees you have, let's say, between software engineering, sales marketing, back office, what does that kind of look like?
So today we're 10, soon to be 15. And the split is like 90% tech and R&D. So pretty much all of the money all of the investment goes into our AI and dev team. And we've recently hired our first, what we call, in French, it's expert métier. So in English would be like architecture or engineering expert that internally can help improve the machines. But so it's clearly heavily biased towards the tech side of things.
So if we take a step back and look at the entire business,
Yeah.
How does this all translate into dollars and cents or euros and cents?
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about your financials or, the economics of the business?
Yeah. So financials, I'll split into like pricing for the customer facing side of things, and then like how much money we've raised to date. So as I said, we price with a like outcome service based approach. So we'll look at how much a project costs. It's like literally the construction project costs, how many square meters there are, and what the client wants done. And we kind of have like an internal calculator that will deliver the pricing for us. So minimum, we're at around like 5 to 10 grand per operation, but very quickly it can go up to 50 grand for one single project, which is like pretty big. And then with the nature of customers that we have, especially on the first ICP, which is owners and developers, they do like minimum 20, 30 projects a year, going up to hundreds for some of them. So you take those maths, like 100 times 10 grand, you get really, really nice enterprise level agreements. And since the work is repeatable, with one customer, the projects are pretty much the same to like 75, 80%. You're really starting to get nice repeatable margins on that. So the objective from our perspective is to get to software level margins with a service level quality of outcome and delivery. Now on the financing side of things, we've raised 3.4 million euros. So with Frst VC, which is based out of Paris, and Brick and Mortar Ventures out of San Francisco, and then a nice motley crew of angel investors from a bunch of different spaces. And that was around 5 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Huge milestone to raise over 3 million euros for your business.
Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about the story of the round? Like, who was involved, how did it come about, and how did you secure the funding?
Yeah. So we started off with a quick angel round, not much money, a few $100 grand, just to get us up and running and to prove that there was something to be bought, right? Like there was an opportunity existed, and we did that fairly quickly. And then we met Pierre Entremont from Frst VC. We were introduced via a mutual friend, and in very typical Frst fashion, I think they're pretty known for this at this point. They moved extremely quickly. So we had one meeting, no deck, no presentation, just a conversation over 45 minutes. That was fairly intense and challenging, but very enjoyable and intellectually stimulating. And we got a term sheet shortly after that. So I feel like it was not a fundraising that was representative of how things are done in France at our stage, considering how early we were. We had created the company a few months before he invested, but it's the way that early stage investing should be done. You shouldn't be doing like 5 or 6 rounds and ICs to invest 2 million into a company. It's not like late stage. So we had an awesome experience overall.
That's amazing. Congratulations again to you and the team.
Thanks.
So what did you learn from the fundraising process?
Well, this might sound a little bit silly, but storytelling and our story as founders is far more important than anything else, because the initial idea that we had pitched was fairly different from the one that actually materialized today. So we had put a lot of effort, and there's a lot of clarity on the solution that we're building, how we thought about building that solution, even if it ended up being the wrong one, because we since like micro pivoted, and our unique insights as founders and how our experiences complemented each other. And so we kind of wove all of that together into a very fluid story. So rather than, investing in like a pitch deck and, how big our market is or whatever, or even polished graphics or a polished product, we just really thought about the story that we're telling, which is the most compelling thing for very early stage investors.
How'd you balance wearing the operator hat So running the business versus the fundraising hat. Now I know your experience was very quick with Frst, so it's awesome that you did that so quickly.
Yeah.
But how did you make that work?
Well, I mean, it happened so quickly that I didn't think about it. Now that we're in a different position, I still think we're radical about this, where I am 100% an operator. Yeah. So all of my time goes into improving the lives of our customers. So when we will need to fundraise, obviously that will change. But the things that get investors excited is happy customers and more revenue. Mm-hmm. So we're not like a Series F level company, right? Where investor relations is extremely important. All energy is focused on operating until we need to fundraise, and then the balance will shift a little bit, and then we'll go back to operating.
So continuing operating the business at full speed. Yeah. So what's next? What's next for Freeda in the next 18, 24 months? Yeah. And also, when do you think you'll be looking for new capital?
Yeah. So what's next for the next 18 months? Geographical expansion. So I think we've done a really good job at moving very quickly in Western Europe, mostly Francophone Europe, for such a small company with no external salespeople. Like it's just the two founders, so Augustin and I selling, especially in Contech. So normally in the construction space, it takes a long time to sign big deals. So the sales cycles are pretty painful. We've managed to hack our way around that. So what we want to do is prove to ourselves, really, that we can be just as fast across other markets. So the focus will be on expanding to the United States, mostly the East Coast of the United States, the UK, and the Middle East, with a focus on the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. So within the next 18 months, I want offices in those locations, commercial offices in those locations, again, to prove that we can expand so quickly.
Yeah. And when it comes to the funding requirements for this, do you need any more, or is it kind of based on what you've got from Frst?
So what's great is with the size of contracts that we're selling, we're in a very strong cash position already, having raised the 3.4 million. I think any fundraising that would come would really be for like targeted expansion. So we need like X to go win, the residential market in Saudi Arabia. But right now, we're not thinking about the fundraising in the short term.
So outside of building an international tech business, what do you do for fun?
I do compliance checks on Sundays to make sure that they work well.
Compliance checks.
So that's a bit of a joke for the team that we have. I'm known for my Sunday compliance sessions. No, I'm a big football fan. So soccer with my American accent, and I'm a longtime suffering Tottenham Hotspur fan. So most of my time is consumed by sports.
Now, if you weren't a startup founder, what would you be?
I'd be doing what I was doing before, which was working in the built environment industry. I think I had a lot of fun as an urban planner. And I think having my own design firm would be what I'd be doing. Yeah.
Who is your closest celebrity lookalike?
Man, I have no idea. When I was a kid, I'd say Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay Culkin?
From Home Alone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I have a pretty generic looking face. So I don't know if I have a specific celebrity lookalike. I don't know.
Okay, well, I mean, we'll stick with Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll take Macaulay Culkin.
No, I think, yeah. No, you definitely don't have a generic face.
Oh, no, I have no problem. I'm a pretty generic looking dude. Like, I'll take it. But yeah, we'll go with Macaulay Culkin as a kid in Home Alone.
Perfect. On the topic of films, what are your top 3 films of all time?
So I'm a big fan. I lived in Hong Kong for a while, so I'm a big fan of artsy Hong Kongese cinema. So favorite film is Chungking Express by Wong Kar-wai. Big fan of Lost in Translation as well. And to keep the fun vibe going, I'll say Apocalypse Now. Why does that make you laugh?
Apocalypse Now is not a very fun movie.
No, it's not. But it's a great film. I said the 3 of those are not actually particularly fun. Maybe that says a lot about me. It says more about me than about the movies. But those, when to solve the Sunday scaries, I think I'll watch Chungking Express. It makes me feel great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. After the compliance sessions.
Of course, always.
Okay. What are your top 3 books you'd recommend?
Oof. Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. The Stranger by Albert Camus, L'étranger in French. And I'll wrap it up with Shantaram by Gregory David Wallace, I believe is his name. 3 awesome books. Very different vibes, but very great books.
From your experience to date, what advice would you give to other founders and entrepreneurs?
This too shall pass. I think there are really, terrifying is maybe the wrong word, but there are complicated moments that you feel will last forever. Like that painful sensation will last forever. And you realize that most problems or the sensation of fear or the pain that comes with it doesn't last very long. You could probably sleep it off. So keeping a kind of like stoic mindset with this too shall pass really helps. I'd say the same thing also goes for success. Success rarely lasts that long in the entrepreneurial journey. So having like a balanced, nuanced perspective on both highs and lows is the best advice I have. So this too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
Now, slightly different question.
Yeah.
Related. But what advice would you give to yourself from 5 years ago, from what you know today?
I'd say believe in yourself way younger. I was an urban planner. When I first went to business school, I didn't think that I was going to be able to fit in or had the right competencies. I was the only person that wasn't from a business or engineering background. And the same applied when I was thinking of starting a company. It's like, okay, but I'm not a developer. I don't come from the tech world per se. Like, could I really be the person creating this? I wish I had started a company a lot younger. So going back to myself 5 years ago, I'd say like, what are you waiting for? You should be doing this now. You have nothing to lose and absolutely everything to win. So why wait 5 years?
Well, Peter, thank you very much for your time today. That's all we have time for here on Raising Europe. So thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.